Yo, it's Multiplier and welcome to Multiplier's studio video extravaganza where I show you how to make a killer bass loop. Taking a bit of a break from working on the album to show you this, so you should be stoked to the max because I'm going to show you some cool shit. Now, I'm using plugins and stuff in this, but it doesn't really matter if you don't have them. It's more of a general vibe and the general concept that needs to go into your brain because it's a cool technique. So, let's give you an example. It's a bass loop and a drum loop that is part of a track I'm working on. Pretty bitchin', I call that killer bass loop. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn off the bass, turn off the drum loop, and make one from scratch. So we're going to want, there's a few steps to this. First step is you need something to make the bass kind of riff. So we're going to create a new MIDI track. We're going to whack in Fossion, this killer bass line generator from the guys at D16. And then before we even start fucking with this, which is fun to do, we're going to stick the next step on, which is we need some sort of distortion thing. So we can use Isotope Trash because Trash is ideal for this because it has a load of character, does a lot of really cool things. So we got Isotope Trash, and then the final step after that, we need some reverb. So we're gonna do all three steps in one because we're mavericks. So right, we got bass generating. Step one, you're writing notes. You should be taking notes. Fossion in my case. Step two, distortion. Ideally something that does some interesting things like Isotope Trash too. Third and final step, a little bit of reverb, just because reverb makes things nicer, especially if you've only got one real sound. It puts it in a real space. This makes it interesting. We're using Tour Reverb, again from the guys at D16. They make some cool things. So what we're going to do is, basically the idea is we're going to fuck around with the bassline generator, find some cool presets for distortion, choose a cool reverb preset, and then just keep dialing it in until it sounds bitchin'. That's the plan. So I'm going to start off with the reverb. I'm going to choose a reverb that I know will sound pretty good. I'm going to go with Hard Walls. We can always tweak this later. Isotope Trash, because we want to fuck with the bass line first and then choose an interesting distortion thing. I'm just going to choose a pretty simple preset, or actually I'll just choose a preset that I know will probably sound cool. Something like bass to bass. So that should be cool. And then we're going to fuck around with Fossion until our bass line sits somewhere where we need it. And then we'll fuck about with the distortion again. Makes sense? Let's do it. Fuck, that's loud. Right, let's turn that down just in case. Don't want to blow up our eardrums. Remember, the important thing is, if you don't understand a plugin, just keep turning knobs until shit sounds cool. It's a fundamental rule of life. So we're going to keep fucking with shit. I mean, I do know what most of these do, but some of them I'm just going, meh, but it sounds cool. Maybe change up the pattern a bit. Forgot to set it on, there you go. Cool, so we've got a little bit of a bass line going. So we're going to go back to the distortion, choose a nicer distortion, and then maybe hop back into the bass line to dial it in a bit. You can kind of balance all these things, just takes practice in every day. So yeah, the cool thing about this distortion plugin is it does a load of really cool shit. So each of these presets will do some filtering, some distortion, maybe some multi-layer distortioning, some multi-band distortioning, distorting even is the correct English. Filtering, some convolution reverb, maybe some dynamic, some shit with the compression, maybe some delay, so it does some cool shit. I mean, that's a pretty bitchin' sound. Let's fuck about with the reverb a bit as well, make sure we've chosen a nice one. That's pretty weird as fuck. Let's dial in some more of this bass shit. That's a weird distortion, man. Anyway, fuck it, you get the idea. I'm just dicking about now. But that's the basic idea. You can fuck about so you get some cool and weird and wonderful stuff. So to recap, the basic idea, you need something to generate cool bass lines you can just fuck about with. As you can see, it's just fun to just play around with shit, not even knowing what, say, slide time does or what on the tack means. I mean, I do know what they kind of mean, but you don't really have to know. Just keep twisting shit till it sounds cool. And yeah, throw some distortion on there that do some interesting things, fuck about with some presets. And then yeah, chuck some reverb on and just see what kind of weirdness comes out. Remember, it don't have to sound like everything else that everyone's doing. It can be weird and wonderful. That's what I recommend. Definitely 100% to the max, big style. The multiplier, this is being how to make a killer bass loop.